The Kaveri River in its curvy journey through the rich lands of southern India has quietly watched great powers rise and fall. Among the longest-lasting of these were the Cholas, a royal family whose name echoes through time. They were known for being smart leaders, supporting art, and being strong at sea. While the imperial Cholas from the 9th to 13th centuries are well known, their earlier family members, called the early Cholas, are still a bit of a mystery. Their story isn't a simple list of kings and exact dates carved in stone. Instead, it's a complicated picture made from heroic poems, broken writings, and the lasting memories of a people. The Sangam Age is the classic time for Tamil books. It is our most important, though difficult, source for the history of the early Cholas. The word Sangam itself means school or meeting. It refers to the famous gatherings of poets and scholars in Madurai. These gatherings were supported by the Pandya kings. The books written during this time include the Etutukai, the 8 collections, and the Patu, the 10 idylls. These works give us a unique look into ancient Tamilakkam's social life, its political world, and its cultural life. In these poems, kings aren't far-off godlike figures. Instead, they're shown with human feelings, bravery in battle, kindness to poets, sadness, joys. These poems help us find many Chola rulers. The poets of the Sangam age weren't writing history books like we do today. Their goal was to praise their supporters, to capture a moment of heroic sacrifice, or to show the sadness of loss. A king like Kilivalavan might be praised in many poems by different poets. But these works rarely tell us when he began to rule, or how long he ruled. So, historians have to act like literary archaeologists. They find which kings and poets lived at the same time to build a timeline. For example, if one poet praised both a Chola king and a Chera king, that's a key clue those rulers were contemporaries. The political world in Sangam literature was broken up but connected. Cholas, Cheras, Pandyas. These kingdoms were almost always fighting and making alliances. They competed to control land and trade routes. Alongside them were many smaller chiefs, the Valir. Long before the poets of the Sangam age sang about their patrons, the name of a Chola king was known in the history of a nearby island. This ruler was Elalan, known in the old writings of Sri Lanka as Elara. His story gives us one of the earliest, though partly legendary, dates for the Chola family line. The Sri Lankan book, the Mahavamsa, written many centuries after the events it describes, shows Elara as a Damila of noble birth from the Chola country who took the throne at Anuradhapura. The book says he had a remarkably long and fair rule, dating it from about 205 BCE to 161 BCE. This makes him one of the first people connected to the Cholas for whom we can give specific, though still debated, dates. The story of Elalan is a fascinating example of how history is written and remembered by different cultures. In the Sri Lankan tradition, he is seen as the main enemy of the Sinhalese hero, Dutugamunu, who eventually defeats him in a big fight to bring the island back together under his own rule. Yet, even in this unfriendly account, Elalan's character is shown with great respect. If Elalan is a figure far off in the distance of Chola history, Karikala Chola stands like a tall mountain peak. He was a ruler whose actions are so celebrated in Sangam literature that he represents the highest point of early Chola power. While the exact dates of his rule are still argued by experts, most agree that he ruled around 190 CE. Karikala, whose name is sometimes thought to mean the man with the burned leg because of a childhood accident, is the main character in several important poems, including the Patinappalai. These old writings show him as a strong warrior, a smart leader, and a great supporter of arts and trade. Karikala's military successes are legendary. He is said to have secured his throne at a very young age and then proved his bravery in battle. His most famous victory was at the Battle of Veni, where he is said to have defeated a powerful group of 11 kings and chiefs, including the rulers of the Pandya and the Chera families. This single victory effectively made the Cholas the main power over the other Tamil groups. Besides the clear figures of Elalan and Karikala, the records of the early Cholas are filled with kings whose historical reality mostly depends on Sangam poetry. These rulers don't have the grand stories of a Karikala or the cross-cultural proof of an Elalan. Instead, they appear in short poems, praised for a specific win, a single act of kindness, or mourned in a sad poem. We're very unsure about when they lived, and for most, we can only say that we don't know the years they ruled. They show the complicated, often confusing network of family ties and fights that marked the Chola government during the Sangam age. Among these kings kept alive by poetry are figures like Ilam Checheni, often known for his impressive chariots and military strength. He is praised in the Purana Nuru, one of the 8 anthologies, as a powerful king. Some scholars have even suggested he was the father of the great Karikala. Among the last important early Chola kings mentioned in Sangam literature is Kochchenganan, history, literature, religious stories. Historically, he is mentioned in the Sangam collection Purana Nuru, where the poet Poigaya praises him for defeating and capturing the Chera king Kanaikal Irumporai. This historical core shows him as a powerful military leader active during the later Sangam period, with some scholars suggesting he ruled around the early centuries of the Common Era, possibly around 100 CE, though this date is still a guess. His victory over a major rival shows the continued strength of the Chola state, even after Karikala's time. What makes Kochchenganan especially interesting is how he changed in later texts, from a historical king into a Saivate saint. The religious songs of the Nayanas, the Tamil Saiva saints who lived many centuries later, honor him as one of the 63 great followers of Shiva. The stories about saints, like the Periya Puranam, create an elaborate past for him, claiming that in a previous life he was a spider who worshipped a Shiva lingam by spinning a web over it to protect it from falling leaves. A rival elephant also worshipped the same lingam by bathing it with water. In a fight, the spider went into the elephant's trunk, killing both of them. Because of his devotion, Shiva allowed the spider to be reborn as a Chola king, Kochchenganan, who would remember his past hatred for elephants. This legend is used to explain one of Kochchenganan's most noted historical traits: his support for building temples. The story of the early Cholas is a compelling, though incomplete, a tale of a royal family that laid the foundation for one of India's greatest empires. To understand their history, we need to look beyond simple timelines and embrace the rich complexity of their stories and legends. Timeline graphic. Key early Chola names: Elalan, Karikala, Kochchenganan, with dates, others marked year unknown. From the fair rule of Elalan in Sri Lanka around 205 BCE, Karikala near 190 CE, Kochchenganan and his temple building. These figures, whose existence is proven to different degrees, show a family line known for bravery in war, smart leadership, deep involvement with culture and religion. Many other kings survive only in poems of the Sangam poets. They engineered rivers, built busy port cities, fought epic battles, and inspired a collection of literature that is among the best in the classical world. The early Cholas may seem like figures in a mist, but their legacy is real and lasting, etched into the landscape of the Kaveri Delta and the immortal poems of the Sangam poets. More archaeological finds and old writings will, definitely continue to bring more of this fascinating period into the light. Their main land was Cholamandalam, the land of the Cholas, centered around the Kaveri River Delta. Their early capitals were Urayur and later Puhar, Kaveripattinam. Their story is one of constant fighting for power, making friends, and building the basic culture and political identity that would later grow into a powerful empire. During this early time, the Cholas were one of 3 main crowned kings of the Tamil country, called the Muventar.